Here is a pie chart question taken from an exam paper. Let's read it. Sally recorded the musical instruments played by each of 30 students in the school orchestra. The table shows her results. Now we can see from the results we've got 30 students here and the different instruments they played. The first question isn't about pie charts but about probability, and it asks if one of the students in the school orchestra was chosen at random, find the probability that this student plays the flute. Probability is always written as a fraction, so the fraction we create is going to have a numerator of the number of flute players. And we can see from the table that's 7. The probability that a student chosen at random is a flute player is 7 out of 30. I'm now going to show you how to complete the information in the table in order to draw an accurate pie chart. We need the total frequency, which is 30. We're told 30 students are in the survey. We need to divide 360, which are the degrees in the circle, by 30, the frequency. I've made it a fraction so that I can simplify first by dividing by 10. Then I can divide 36 by 3, a much simpler sum. 3's into 3 go 1, 3's into 6 go 2. What I've calculated there is each person is accounted for 12 degrees. I now need to multiply each one of these frequencies by the 12 degrees. And that will give me the total number of degrees of each of my angles. 5 times 12 is 60. 12 times 12 is 144. 7 times 12 is 84. And 6 times 12 is 72. These are all the measurements that I will now draw in my pie chart. My pie chart's already drawn. All I need to complete the pie chart now is a protractor to measure my angles and a ruler to draw my lines. I draw my first angle by placing the protractor onto the pre-drawn line so that this T mark here lines up with the bottom of it, and if I trace up that line you can see the 0 starts on the outside numbers. So it's the outside numbers I'm going to use to measure my first 60 degrees. Round the protractor I mark at 60 degrees, remove my protractor and replace it with the ruler in order to draw my first segment. It helps to mark the segments up as you go, so this is the clarinet. Now, my protractor started here. I'm going to move it in a clockwise direction until the line lines up with the one that I just drew. Having done that, I'm now going to look at the 0 and measure my next angle, which is 144. So this one's quite a big one. Round the outside to 140, then just past 140 to 144, mark my angle and draw my line. So there I have 2 segments drawn, and the second segment is a guitar. I replace my protractor so that I'm continuing round in a clockwise direction, lining up my protractor now with the last line I drew. Now my next segment is 84 degrees, so around the outside numbers again, to 80, past 80 to 84. mark my angle, remove my protractor and draw my line. Now, if it's the very last two sectors you're drawing, I will have both my flute and my drums drawn. You always get the last one drawn automatically. There is my completed pie chart. This question here, also taken straight from an exam paper, says that Noreen carries out a survey of some students, and the pie chart shows some of the information about their favourite holidays. This first question is asking how many students took part in the survey, and the information it's giving us in order to work that out is that 5 students said that walking is their favourite holiday. So this sector of the pie chart is representing 5 students. And you can see that it's also 30 degrees. So if 30 degrees is equal to 5 students, this is a bit like a ratio question. We've got to scale up our 30 until we reach 360. And we now know that for ratio purposes, if we're looking at our multiplier, the question we really want to ask ourselves is a division one. 360 divided by 30. There are actually 12 30s in 360. So that's our multiplier. You could do that by division sum on the calculator. And our rules of ratio say what we do to one side we must do to the other. So we need to multiply 5 by 12. 5 times 12 is 60. So what we're saying is if 30 degrees is equal to 5 people, 360 degrees, the whole circle, is equal to 60 people. 60 people took part in this survey. Our final part of the question is probability. It says Noreen chooses one of the students at random. Write down the probability that the student's favourite holiday is cycling. We know probability is always written as a fraction, and we're looking for the number of students that prefer cycling as our numerator. If we go back to the original piece of information, which is 30 degrees represents 5 people, we want to scale that up proportionally to find how many people are represented by 60 degrees. This is a much simpler multiplier. We times 30 by 2 to make 60. So we're going to times 5 by 2, and we can see 10 people prefer cycling. All that's left is for us to put the 10 as the numerator over 60, being the total number of people in the survey, as our denominator. Therefore, the probability is 10 out of 60.